Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International. It's now time for our first topic of discussion for today. And during her participation in the World Electric Transition Forum, Minister of Environment Yasmin Fouad have recently confirmed that Egypt is working to boost the electric transition as part of the mechanism of reducing the effects of climate change and make use of the experiences of the countries which has preceded us. And to shed more light on this topic, we're most delighted to be joined here in the studio by Dr. Mohamed Raouf, and he's an energy and environmental economics expert. A very good morning, Doctor, and thank you so much for joining.
Good morning to you and to our viewers.
Doctor, first of all, how important is it for Egypt to turn to operating means of transportation with electricity?
Well, it's a very important topic, especially for Egypt, as we are modernizing our society, depending on renewable energy, and we have very ambitious plans according to 2030 agenda. Electric cars or e-mobility will be the future of transportation globally and locally. And it's happening now very soon. Maybe coronavirus helped to speed up the transition to these new technologies. It has a lot of benefits. It will reduce the consumption of petroleum products. It will mitigate climate change by reducing greenhouse gases. It will attract a lot of investment to these new areas. It will reduce the air pollution, different air pollutants from petrol diesel cars, because it has almost zero emissions compared to the traditional conventional cars.
That was you have noted part of my second question, which is the environmental effects of these new technologies.
Well, the shift to this e-mobility is mainly because of environmental benefits. It has a lot of environmental benefits, and as you know that there is a lot of obligations globally, especially due to Paris Agreement for climate change. And we want to reduce greenhouse gases, especially carbon emissions. So transportation globally may be responsible around 30-32% of the greenhouse gases. Carbon emissions mainly. So the shift to e-mobility will reduce air pollutants, different air pollutants like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, NOx, and all these different pollutants. And also it will help to increase the usage and utilization of renewable energy sources, because we can build charging outlets, infrastructure, depending on solar or wind power. This will help further to reduce carbon emissions. And also because of this environmental trends, they try in these new transportation means to use the more environment-friendly materials and different components to be more recyclable, more environment-friendly. So all in all, the environmental benefits are the most important and the main driver for the shift to e-mobility.
Dr. Abdel, also, how would the move affect the health of the citizens on the long run?
Yes, that's very important, because also if we improve the environmental conditions, environmental circumstances, it will have a very positive effect on the health of the population. Reducing air pollutants will help to reduce a lot of health issues, especially related to respiratory diseases, asthma, and even cancer, lung cancer, and all these types of pollutants. And we have witnessed in corona pandemic crisis that the cities which are polluted, the big cities which have a lot of pollutants, they have a lot of mortality because of the air pollution. Air pollution reduces the human immune system, and this becomes very vulnerable to various diseases. So the health effect is very important aspect of shifting to e-mobility.
Doctor, also we have seen some smart buses commuting, which are operated by electricity in a number of cities. So can this idea be applied all over Egypt?
Yeah, it's already applied. Of course, there is a lot of obstacles. Still, it's not so easy to shift completely to e-mobility and electronic vehicles because of the cost, the higher cost, and some other factors. So the public transportation system would be the best example to show the citizens the environmental benefits and health benefits, economic benefits of using these electric buses. And in Egypt also, the city of Alexandria, the public transportation authority signed an agreement with a Chinese company, and they are planning to operate around 15 to 18 buses in the public transportation system. And we have seen public transportation system applied, electronic buses applied in many other cities in the world, especially in Europe, United States. Even in the Middle East, United Arab Emirates were one of the pioneers operating buses by electricity. So this is the future. The whole society will shift. We need an innovation, and innovation is related to these new types of technologies, which improve the quality of life.
Dr. Abdel, do you think that this would have an impact on tourism? Turning green.
Well, definitely it will have an impact on tourism because in order to attract tourism, first of all, you need to have a good quality of life. So people cannot visit places which are polluted, especially air pollution, which I mentioned, has a lot of health and respiratory
hazards.
Yes, so improving the quality of life, improving the quality of environment in these various cities will help to attract a lot of tourism. And also the running cost of electric cars and electric buses are lower compared to the petrol diesel cars. So this will help to attract a lot of tourists because they will pay less cost to reach these various destinations. So it will help to improve and attract the tourism sector locally and globally.
Dr. Abdel, can you shed the light on any successful examples for other developed countries that have fully implemented this model and they're very successful? And sorry, it's a bit complicated question, complex. And if they succeeded, why did they succeed?
I see. Well, it has been applied. It's not applied fully yet. I mean, we are in transition phase. Of course, as I mentioned, the coronavirus helped to speed up the shift to these different types of technologies, especially the clean ones, such as electric cars, which almost have a zero emission compared to traditional conventional petrol diesel cars. In the Arab region, United Arab Emirates is one of the pioneers, have been applied this in public buses and also in taxis. In terms of big share compared to the market, we have China as the leader. We have the largest number of cars. In terms of sales and policy, we have in Europe in general, and especially in Norway, they have giving a lot of incentives in order to speed up the establishment and investment in the charging outlet, whether by public authorities or by private sector. And also they are enacting different laws and legislation related to energy, environment, and all these laws help to speed up the shift toward these type of new technologies. And also in many other countries, they are putting a lot of tax exemption, especially on a temporary period. So it will help to encourage in investing and importing these types of cars. The most important aspect is if you want to regulate, because it connects a lot of authorities. You need to have the custom authorities, finance minister, environment minister, electricity minister, and also municipalities. So a lot of authorities. So it's better to assign these tasks to one of the authorities or establish a specific authority to regulate and facilitate the shift toward these electric cars.
Dr. Abdel, what are the conditions that should be set forth by any country in order to implement this new technology or e-mobility?
Yeah, important thing is that you need to give exemption because, as I mentioned, we still have some obstacles, especially people are not aware about the benefits, and if they are aware, the cost of the electric cars compared to traditional ones are higher. So you need to give a lot of incentives in order to incentivize different individuals to own these type of cars. So you need to have custom different criteria in the custom laws in order to incentivize individuals, and also you need to have very strict environmental regulation, and this will result in not only strict, but also you have to force the implementation of these environmental regulations, because they will force to different individuals, different companies, different cities to cut greenhouse gases emissions. In order to cut these emissions, you need to utilize the electric cars. Electricity, energy sector is very important. You need to guarantee a stable energy source. It's preferable to have it from renewable energy sources. So you need to incentivize different investors to establish charging outlets. Currently, also one of the main obstacles that charging outlets is very few in Egypt and globally. And in order to charge your car, it takes around the fast charging one takes between 20 to 30 minutes, and this is very. I mean, if you go to a charging station, you find only 2 cars. It means like you have to wait 1 hour. So it's one of the main obstacles. So you need to on technology side to speed up the technology of these charging outlets. So you need a lot of regulation policy, especially related to environment and energy, in order to incentivize investment in this e-mobility.
Doctor, what about the infrastructure? Are we fully prepared to implement this ambitious project? As you have kind of you already have initiated, but
yes. Infrastructure is very important. I mean, you cannot succeed unless you have the sufficient infrastructure from the policy side, as I mentioned, and also from the especially the charging outlets. Also, Egypt took a number of steps. So we established a number, I think around 20 stations in different cities, especially Cairo, Giza, South Boursaid, Alexandria. And there is a plan to expand these charging outlets in other cities. This has been done with, I think, a Chinese company, private Chinese company. And there are many other plans to encourage and establish these charging outlets, part of the Wataniya, the national petrol station. So you need to speed up the charging outlets. This will help and will ease, encourage and also will ease the process of charging. So it will finally encourage different people to own these types of cars. Especially, it has a lot of benefits on the health issue, and also the investment cost of owning such car is very high, but the running cost is very cheap. You don't have to do a lot of maintenance because there is no exhaust system. The battery is completely different. You don't need to do a lot of maintenance. So the running cost is very cheap. Experts estimate that the running cost of the electric car compared is 1/3 of the petrol diesel ones. So this will be very encouraging to different individuals to own such cars.
Yes. Doctor, can you please also shed the light on the meaning of clean energy transmission?
Yes, this is all linked. So as we mentioned, we have the Paris Agreement for climate change. It has a lot of obligation in order to cut the CO2 emission and greenhouse gases. In order to achieve these goals, you need to shift to different new technologies, which such as renewable energy, use hydropower, wind power, even in some cases nuclear power. In order to use these, you have to have a shift from the traditional fossil energy sources such as oil, natural gas and coal to these new types of energy which have less or zero emissions. So this calls the shift to the green energy sources, and you need also to link this shift with the network in order to be able to immediately utilize and connect these type of energy sources to the electricity grid in order to be able to utilize them in electric cars, in factories, in houses, in various sectors.
Yes. Dr. Abdel, what about the role of peaceful nuclear power regarding the issue of clean energy?
Yes, this is very tricky. And the nuclear power is, I mean, in terms of emission, it has a less emission compared to, and it played a lot of role in the past few years with renewable energy sources such as wind and solar in order to cut greenhouse gas emission. But the problem is that the world now is shifting from nuclear power. Many of the developed countries, especially in Europe, Japan, are closing the nuclear power. Especially you have wind and solar, which are cheaper and more environment friendly if you take into consideration the nuclear waste. Up to now, scientifically, there is no approved way in order to fully, safely get disposal of this waste. It's a small amount after many years. It's still a small amount, but it's very hazardous. So you have to, I mean, we heard in many in the news over the many years that different countries export these hazardous waste to developing countries in order to bury them. So this is the problem with the nuclear waste. Definitely it will help to cut the greenhouse gas emission, but if you take the different negative impacts, maybe it's not worthwhile, and especially if you have in countries like Egypt, wind and solar.
Why do you think, Doctor, that the transmission and distribution are the clean energy transition's secret weapons?
Yeah, you can call it like that because, as we mentioned, that the world now is shifting to renewable energy sources, especially solar and wind, and it's very cheap, it's very and more environment friendly. But the main problem is that you need to generate these generate electricity, and you have to utilize it immediately. If you can store it, of course, in different battery system, but it will raise the cost. So in order to utilize these type of energy sources, you have to have a stable transmission and network, electricity grid also, in order to be able to connect immediately and utilize this type of source of energy immediately. And even if you don't need, you can export these types of energy to other countries, so grid connection with different countries. So it's as you mentioned in your question, yes, it's a secret, like a secret weapon, because you have to improve the network. You have to have a reliable network, very connected network to these type of sources, connected the network to other countries in order to be able to utilize the electricity generated from these various sources. Otherwise, you have to store it, and then the cost will be high. I mean, till the technology is available in order to store it in a cheap way, okay, but currently you have to improve the network, transition.
Yeah, it's not cost efficient.
Yes, exactly.
Doctor, how do you see the future of the electricity in new technologies?
I mean, we are shifting. The world is shifting now, especially after the pandemic. We are thinking about, different types of city, different types of life. And Egypt is working on this field, by the way. We are building now new cities, new capital, and all this will be smart cities, have a lot of very advanced network. So the digital revolution is very important, and all these types of technologies in this smart new world depends mainly on electricity. So electricity is the key, energy is very key in these types of development. So we need to have a new smart economy, new smart society, new smart technologies. I think in this new smart society and technology, two things are very important: the environmental standards, because these people are now caring about the quality of life. So you can live in different areas, different cities, but you choose the less polluting one, the better quality of life. And you need to choose the smart one. Smart one, depending on digital technology, everything will be connected, everything will be easy, you don't have to move a lot. And this is logic, because the population is very growing, so we don't need people to even in the future go daily to work or to school. They have online meeting, online conferences, and so on. So energy is very key in this modern new economy, new society.
Yes. We really appreciate your insight. As always, Dr. Mohamed Abdel, energy and environmental economics expert. Thank you so much for being with us on The Breakfast Show.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. And dear viewers, now we move on to a quick break and then we'll be back to resume The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International.